Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I believe we are currently living in a simulation. Nothing just makes sense now. So the Nord Stream saga continues to worsen. The pipeline explosion occurred approximately 2 years ago. We have countries looking into it. Denmark and Sweden were all part of the investigation. They subsequently withdrew the complaint, and don't forget that Russia is also suing over the Nord Stream blast. However, it just gets weirder. Germany is investigating the pipeline sabotage theory. They are after a Ukrainian named Volodymyr Z. I am not joking, Volodymyr Z, and presumably this is a diving instructor. So you're telling me that an instructor suddenly performed a James Bond maneuver. He plunged at least 80 or 100 meters under the sea and blew up the Nord Stream pipes. And now he is hiding in Poland. This is the real Baltic Sea ghost. This is simply so strange. This news came out of nowhere. Germany now wants answers. After all, no one on Earth, no soul, knows who did it, correct? However, the narrative gets crazier from there. The Wall Street Journal released an article titled "A Drunken Evening, a Rented Boat, and the True Story of the Nord Stream Pipeline Sabotage." This breaking news and more, so buckle up because this is gonna be a wild ride. But before we start, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do, so you will not miss on the latest news on the world's economy. This is Earth Economy Explained. So Russia didn't actually blow up their own assets. According to the paper and their assertions, private businessmen funded the operation, which was overseen by a top general. Zelensky wanted to cancel it, but it was too late. So here's how it went. The plotters chartered a leisure yacht named the Andromeda and went through a few pit breaks before blowing up the pipeline in 2 different spots. It's just extremely strange. It's like a movie. It's like visiting the Twilight Zone. However, this is the story that is being pushed to everyone. I'm not sure what to think or make of it right now. What is obvious, however, are the consequences of the Nord Stream shutdown. That single incident effectively cemented the destiny of the German economy. Cheap Russian gas is no longer flowing to Berlin and is instead traveling to China. That is why we are seeing a divergence between these two economies. Now take a look at this graphic, which shows how important the pipelines were. Nord Stream 1 and 2 had a total capacity of 110 billion cubic meters, which is similar to the combined capacity of all other pipelines connecting Turkey and Europe. Since 2011, Germany has been receiving inexpensive Russian gas. It helped their economy become Europe's strongest. Now, Germany is the first stop for this gas, so their industries could absorb as much volume as they required at rock-bottom prices. It's basically the Cantillon effect, in which the person who receives the money or item first reaps the maximum rewards. However, that advantage has now shifted to China. Germany's production costs have skyrocketed, and the country's industries are failing. So Germany must get to the bottom of this. They need to assign blame since the economy is collapsing. The manufacturing base is gone and investors are simply departing the nation. German investor confidence has dropped to its lowest level since January, which makes perfect sense. If we zoom out, we can see that confidence is on its way to 2020 lockdown levels. Energy costs are simply too high. If you manufacture anything in Germany, you will be at a significant disadvantage. It's no surprise that corporations are going to the United States or China, where there are considerably larger markets with decreased production costs and massive corporate subsidies. And it's extremely tragic when you compare this to the past. After the GFC collapsed in 2008, every economy suffered. Manufacturing in both the United States and Germany increased dramatically, but Germany's recovery was particularly impressive. Production continued to rise in comparison to the United States. And why do you think that occurred? It was due to inexpensive Russian energy. The complete distribution of gas began in late 2012, so billions of cubic meters poured into Germany, where they had previously dipped. That is why the whole US government, from Trump to Biden to Nuland, opposed the project. The Germans no longer needed to import pricey LNG from the Americans, and their industry outperformed US manufacturing. Germany's current dilemma is not complex. They need inexpensive energy. We all know that, but government policies are making it difficult. The removal of nuclear energy is a clear one. Running to hydrogen is another mistake. And until this conundrum is solved, it's difficult to imagine Germany recovering. The IMF has issued research that explains how long this gloom and despair will persist. And if you're from Germany, you won't like this. But here's the truth about about the economic situation. The pain won't go away tomorrow. Germany will continue to see a 20% increase in energy prices through 2028, and that's only a cautious estimate. Furthermore, rising production costs will have an impact on the prospective expansion of industries. We have at least another 5 years of negative 1%. However, in some industries, the situation will worsen. The heat-to-output ratio could reach 2% or higher. There are no good solutions left. The government can, of course, finance the cause, but this will just increase the national debt. However, if they do not, further companies will depart. This will mark the end of German-made products. Even Habeck, the economy minister, has accepted defeat. The economic crisis is becoming more entrenched to the point of paralysis, which annoys everyone. So yet, the steps made have not been adequate to address Germany's structural difficulties. So Germany is stuck, and they are hardly the only G7 country in peril. Japan is another one, and their economy is on life support. They are hanging from the thread. Furthermore, the weak yen benefits their exports. However, when the yen weakens, the people of Japan suffer. And now Kishida is going to resign. In September, he will go. The Japanese population has had enough. And if you think about it, there's been a peculiar series of odd coincidences. We had Malone racing all the way to Beijing. Following that, a Macron snap election will be held. Biden dropped out of the electoral race. Sunak no longer exists in the United Kingdom. And now Japan's prime minister is bidding farewell. He's saying goodbye. All the failed programs, all the money printing, and all the sanctions they're about to impose. It's crucial to understand that Kishida isn't living to be a hero or a revered leader. Fewer than 20% of people wanted him to stay. If you've lived and worked in Japan, you'll understand why your purchasing power has been falling for the past 27 months. From March 2022 to May this year, your monthly real salaries fell by 2% on average. Consider the massive 4% drop in January of last year. With the yen also plummeting against the dollar, everything is becoming prohibitively expensive for Japanese residents. Japan's economic problems are huge. Kishida was never going to fix it alone. The unending money printing and yield curve management have trapped the country in a very dangerous predicament. Over the last week, the yen carry trade exploded, bringing global markets down. The Nikkei plummeted by more than 10%. The S&P fell 5%, while Asian stocks suffered greatly. However, hedge funds are now returning to the carry trade. Yen shorts have increased by 40% in the last week. Traders understand that the BOJ cannot raise interest rates without significant implications. Thus, they are all betting that the currency will continue to plummet. This significant shift suggests that the yen will continue to fall. To avoid a worldwide market collapse, the BOJ has chosen to risk the future of the Japanese yen. Trapped. That is the word of the day in Japan. The BOJ cannot raise interest rates without exploding everything. Therefore, the gap between the haves and have-nots will only widen. A weaker yen benefits exporters. Japanese goods become cheaper, allowing them to sell more products. The cheaper yen also encourages consumers to purchase back into the stock market, which is why the Nikkei is recovering from its meltdown. Half of the losses have been recovered, and it's easy to see why. Investors cannot keep a sinking currency in cash. You will lose your purchasing power. Japanese government bonds that are really rapid are also not ideal. The yields are still close to zero. Therefore, the only other alternative is to buy equities. As a result, both exporters and investors will benefit. The middle class, those who earn in yen and do not have significant assets, will be hollowed out. As awful as things are in Germany and Japan, things in the United States are simply out of control. The United States might be reviving a Soviet-era economic scheme. Let's pick up this insanity from Zero Hedge. Kamala's economic strategy advocates pricing controls to combat inflation. This is ridiculous. It's insane and makes me wonder if Bidenomics was even that horrible in the first place. Maybe it's a better idea than what Kamala is attempting. Anyone with half a brain knows that price controls do not work. It doesn't even sound smart to begin with. Kamala is seeking guidance from the same person who is unaware of how debt is issued or how money is made. Instead of borrowing, why can't we simply print money? And now we are discussing pricing controls, and this is why we are condemned to eternal inflation. You can't really take the economy seriously anymore. Kamala has proposed a ban on price gouging for food and consumables. You better sell at the price we set, or the government will come for you. Now, I understand the indignation and concern about inflation, and we all know that firms nowadays make a lot of money, but what she's suggesting defies all economic logic. It's from an alternate universe. We're going back to the Soviet Union era. They implemented pricing restrictions, which effectively restrained inflation. However, it caused a shortage of food and consumer goods. In the early 1990s, Russia experienced hyperinflation. Simply sit back and think about this seriously. Price limitations are feasible. However, this would necessitate an enormous amount of subsidies. Kamalanomics is conceivable. However, the US federal deficit will skyrocket. To pay for all of these subsidies, the government will have to issue debt, which would eventually result in severe inflation, not only in food costs, but in all other areas. You're referring to rising housing costs. Fuel prices will also increase. In addition, the dollar will plummet. The Fed will have no choice except to print money. This is a chart of the CPI and PPI, but just focus on the blue line above. PPI stands for Producer Price Index, and it represents the cost paid by firms. Their import expenses have increased. In other cases, prices are far higher than the production costs. They expect it will remain unchanged so that when inflation stabilizes, they will be able to make money. Kamala's price regulations will devastate these enterprises. If you want unemployment to increase, this is the solution. The silver bullet. If you want 5 or 6% unemployment, this is where you go. No problem if you want Walmart's prices to remain consistent indefinitely. They will merely diminish employment and income, leading everyone's purchasing power to collapse. According to Trump, Kamala is running on the Maduro plan in Venezuela. Whether you like or dislike Trump, he does have a point. Just look at Venezuela's inflation rate. The Maduro plan and pricing limitations have simply sent everything to the moon. It resulted in major shortages of groceries. Inflation rose from 20% to more than 160%, and things are only getting crazier. The only way to curb inflation is for government spending to decrease, cease, and better allocate money to enhance the supply of goods. Economics 101. Price controls result in either soaring debt or huge unemployment. So pick your poison, because it's a train wreck in either case. Please let me know what you think. Will Germany discover the ghost of the Baltic Sea? What other shocking news will we receive from Japan? Are price restrictions coming to the United States? I hope you find this update instructive and useful. Thank you for watching. Please share your ideas in the comments below. If you found this video useful, please press the like button, subscribe, and click the bell icon to remain updated. As usual, remain safe and informed. Thank you for watching Earth's Economy Explained.